I got two emails from my tax advisor on Friday. One was in relation to my personal tax affairs, and the other was in relation to my company tax affairs. And they were both, your provisional tax payments are. And each provisional tax payment is in the region of several thousands of rands, but at least it's a letter from my tax advisor, not a letter from SARS. Because if you get a letter from SARS, or sometimes I get a ping, we don't get many text messages these days, do we? Get mainly WhatsApps. But every now and then I get a ping, and I go, oops, it's SARS. What is SARS telling me? Because there's something about a ping on your phone or a bodoing on your email inbox, and you see SARS, and your heart sinks. And SARS is sending out letters of demand at the moment. Jashwin Baijoo joins us now, Legal Manager, Africa Tax and Compliance at Tax Consulting South Africa. Jashwin, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Well, I'm not used to being up this early in the morning, so I'm not doing terribly well. How are you doing?
That makes two of us.
Oh, well, we'll struggle through the next few minutes then. Under what circumstances does SARS send out a letter of demand?
So typically SARS sends out a letter of demand if there is a liability on the taxpayer's account stemming from a notice of assessment issued, which liability has not been settled by the deadline provided in said notice of assessment.
Okie dokie. So they told you had to pay them, you didn't pay them, and they are reminding you not so gently that you owe them money. It's as simple as that.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say they're reminding you. It's more like they're warning you, because that final letter of demand, the taxpayer looks at the fine print, as is always the case, John. That actually provides that should they fail to respond to this letter of demand in terms of either entering into a payment arrangement, entering a dispute, making payment, or suspending the liability, then SARS is rightfully allowed to commence with collection measures, which can stem from anything from SARS making a third-party appointment, which means you wake up tomorrow morning and there's 100,000 missing from your bank account lawfully attached by SARS. Alternatively, it could be something to the effect of a week down the line, the sheriff is at your door to attach your property.
And how often does SARS make mistakes in sending out letter of demands when letters of demands are not indicated by the revenue process?
Yes, so we have seen a few instances. It's not often, John, unfortunately. I know taxpayers were hoping to hear it was a mistake most of the time, but it's not. The Revenue Authority digs deep, and a liability could be as little as 5,000, going up to 10, 20 million. But even if it's from, let's call it 2001, if it's picked up now, you're getting that final demand now, regardless of the amount. What we have seen is, on occasion, there are obviously errors on SARS's side in terms of a payment's been made but not allocated, which is why the liability still reflects. Alternatively, that liability has been incorrectly calculated, in which instance we would enter into the dispute process with SARS. So, bearing that in mind, it is always essential for a legal advisor, a tax practitioner, etc., to run a full diagnostic on the taxpayer's affairs to ascertain what's right, what's wrong, and what's the best way forward.
I mean, the bottom line of this, Jashwin, is don't stick your head in the sand and hope that the problem will go away. It won't. You need to tackle it. You need to, if you believe that SARS has got it wrong, you need to start engaging with SARS and putting your point that they've got it wrong. Or if you, with a sinking feeling, acknowledge that they're probably correct, you have to pay them. Because I think a lot of people turn their eyes away from the problem in the hopes that it'll go away, but it won't.
Yeah, look, John, I mean, that was the previous stance, and quite often for the smaller amounts, that would work. You get a demand for 5,000, you ignore it for a couple of months, and you don't hear from them for years. You think it's done, but it's not. But the silver lining in this is there is benefits in a first mover advantage. And that is, if SARS is approached correctly and legally at the outset, then they're quite amicable to assisting the taxpayer and guiding the taxpayer. And one of the most favorable routes that we've seen is what's known as a compromise of tax debt. So in this instance, yes, you're aware you owe the money, but you genuinely cannot afford to pay, let's call it R1,000,000 to SARS in a single payment. They're quite amicable. Granted, your financial situation justifies it, to actually reducing that amount to, call it 500,000, and you pay that in full and final settlement, with the other 500,000 being written off, but only if you are in dire financial situations.
What is the best way to approach SARS with a situation like this? A replying email, go into an office, try the call center. What, in your experience, works best?
Yeah, look, the call center is probably your worst idea. You'll sit on the phone for 3 hours and the consultant has no idea how to help you. From my experience, what we found is the best way to engage SARS on these matters is to very strongly legally engage them at the outset. So SARS is aware that you have the correct representation, you've been correctly advised, and you will follow due procedure. And when approached legally from the outset, SARS, as I said, they're very amicable, they're very helpful. And it also helps to know the right people in SARS, so to speak.
Jashwin Baijoo, thank you very, very much indeed. Legal Manager, Africa Tax and Compliance with Tax Consulting South Africa.